Am I the a-hole for friend-zoning a girl after finding out she has a kid? I, 30 male, have been trying to get back into the dating game after a recent divorce. Me and my ex do not have any kids, and I have always been adamant that I never want children, literally since I was a kid myself, lol. Well, as you can guess, dating at 30 when you don't want kids isn't exactly easy, but I'm still drawing a line there personally. Well, onto the story. I have been casually seeing this girl we'll call Sarah, 25 female, for a few weeks now. We have never been intimate in person beyond kissing and some casual touching and flirting, but we have had some steamy text conversations. Well, the other day, Sarah and I decided to have a few drinks and a movie night at my place. The real agenda was for us to finally have physical intimacy, and she would stay the night. The night is going well, and everything is great, as it has been up until now. But out of nowhere, Sarah just casually mentions that her child's father has been a pain in the neck lately, and how she is so glad she doesn't have to deal with him as a partner anymore. Naturally, I was a bit caught off guard, so I asked her to clarify that she does indeed have a kid. She stated that she did, but didn't think it was relevant to us, as we hadn't been seeing each other for very long. After she said this, I didn't quite know what to do. Of course, I could have continued with the plan for intimacy, but that felt dirty now. Not because she's a mother, but because I feel like if I now have no interest in pursuing her seriously anymore, I shouldn't give her false hope by sleeping with her. I didn't quite know how to handle the situation, so when the time came to go to bed, I just kind of pretended to be too tired to do anything intimate and ended up going to sleep. She seemed visibly disappointed, but I didn't know what else to do. Fast forward a couple of days, and we haven't spoken much since, aside from casual friendly chat over text. I didn't really know what to say to her, if I'm honest. Eventually, she sends me a voice message saying she thinks it's pretty crappy for me to friend zone her like this just because she's a mother. That she has value beyond her child, and she deserves a real man who can love her and her child. The friend that introduced us is fully on her side and being the same way towards me, despite knowing from our time as friends that I have never wanted kids. I guess I could have been upfront immediately that I think this isn't going anywhere and ended the night the moment I found out. But I felt so awkward about it all that I just didn't know what to do. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was being deceptive, as she's perfectly aware that kids matter. Next time you think you'll start seeing someone, casually ask if they have kids, or nicely say you aren't interested in people with children. Many women won't date men with kids. It's fine. This was definitely a learning experience for me. In my time being single, I have had a couple small flings with mothers, and everyone knew from the beginning that it was nothing more than a fun time. This was my first time in a situation where I had no idea that she had a child and was so caught off guard by it. But I do agree I should have broached the subject from the beginning, or at the very least been more vocal before ending things romantically. Not the a-hole. The person who introduced you to her, knowing you didn't want kids, and knowing and not telling you that she had one, is not your friend. That was a deceptive act, and for them to act like you're in the wrong for not wanting to take on a child is ridiculous and absurdly entitled. You are not an a-hole to not want kids, and not want to date single moms. And here, based on what she said, she is looking for a real man to take care of her and her kid. Run far away. From both her and the person who introduced you. Yeah. To add to your comment, I will be having a private word with said friend asking what their intentions were there, since they knew you found kids to be a deal breaker and would never seriously date this woman once you found out. Ask that friend if they really wanted to get two people's hopes up, knowing they were fundamentally incompatible, because that's a messed up thing to do to two friends. And depending on how the conversation goes, drop them as a friend. Believe it or not, the baggage you bring into the dating scene matters. Kids, exes, previous marriages, family, and other traumas or even sexual experiences will all impact your prospective dating pool. It's neither right or wrong, but it's definitely something to acknowledge and understand, rather than try to deceive someone into dating you. After all, why would you hate yourself so much to want to be with someone who wouldn't love you if they knew the real you from the start? Not the a-hole. You could have gone about it in a better, more direct way, but not leading her on is the correct thing to do. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm proud of how I reacted by going cold. In the moment, I just didn't know what to say or do, and I'll use it as a learning experience. Am I the a-hole for not telling my girlfriend I didn't finish college? I'm a successful software engineer, and I dropped out my senior year because I had a good job opportunity that paid 6 figures. I've always been a bit self-conscious about it because I live somewhere where people go to work after graduating from Ivy League schools, though not finishing college has never stopped me from getting a good job. Anyways, my girlfriend has a professional degree, and she always just assumed that I finished school because I never told her I didn't. After months of being in my head about it, I finally told my girlfriend of 7 months last night that I didn't finish college. She didn't believe me at first and asked me if I was serious multiple times. I told her yes, and she said that I lied to her by omission and that I robbed her of her making a decision. She even made a joke about how she's dating a dropout. To her, education is very important, as it shows self-improvement, dedication, and finishing something that someone has started. She also told me that she sees me sometimes lounging around the house being lazy, and that it all makes sense now. I don't think I'm lazy. I have a successful career and get stuff done around the house, a place that I pay for and take care of myself. I value downtime, and my job isn't extremely demanding, so many times she will see me on my phone on Instagram when I'm supposed to be working. I told her that I left school because I had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and that I don't regret it. I've been able to get good opportunities in my field and climb the ladder, as well as increase my income significantly, which is more than double her income. After much back and forth, she said she doesn't think of me different, that she just feels like I lied to her. I'm a bit torn, because she made me feel like crap, especially when saying I robbed her of her decision. Which is honestly partly why I didn't bring it up, because I was worried she would see me negatively as being a dropout, but I also think she was a little mean about it. Am I the a-hole? What decision did you rob her of? I don't understand how you dropping out for a good opportunity affects her in any way. Not the a-hole. She's being judgmental for no good reason. She had basically a checklist of things she wants in a partner, and education is something she values. She will nag you to spend every moment of your life working as hard as possible. She lives to work rather than vice versa. She doesn't value leisure. Not the a-hole. You're not a good fit for each other. You'll be better off without her. She also told me that she sees me sometimes lounging around the house being lazy, and that it all makes sense now. I don't think I'm lazy. I have a successful career and get stuff done around the house. Not the a-hole, but if you decide to stay with her, prepare yourself for all the times she's gonna use the excuse of you being a dropout for every time she gets mad. She's gonna hold it above your head for sure. I really don't understand. Why is a degree important when you have a stable income? This is the most infuriating statement ever. People who went to university don't lounge around the house. What type of profiling is that? She has no understanding of how bad the state of education systems currently are, how little is needed to pass degrees. I knew this guy Billy Gates. I almost put my money into his little startup company that he was very enthusiastic about. Then I found out he never actually graduated from school. Huge red flag. I really dodged a bullet there. I wonder if he ever made anything of himself. Heard the same thing happened, except it involved some guy named Mark Zucker something. Dude apparently dropped out of Harvard during his sophomore year to found something called Facebook. I'm sure you never heard of it. I mean, dude was clearly a slacker. How popular could it be? Am I the a-hole for not moving out after breakup and dating a woman I was seeing while we were together? Sounds bad, I know, but I never cheated on my ex Sarah. We had an open relationship for years. During that time, I hooked up with a woman named Nikki. Sarah knew about Nikki, and Nikki knew about Sarah and our open relationship. Several months ago, Sarah told me she wanted to close our relationship. I told her I would think about it, but in the end decided to break up with her, since I did not think we were physically compatible enough for it to work out long term. Sarah thought she should get to keep the apartment, since I was the one breaking up with her. It's a really nice place and has cheap rent, and I refused, because I lived here first for years before they moved in. The lease is in my name, and she was the one that decided to change things. I did, however, say she and her son could stay for a few months until she found a new place. After breaking up, I continued to see Nikki. We started seeing each other more often, going on actual dates, and are getting serious. Sarah heard about Nikki and I seeing each other, not just hooking up, and blew up at me. Now Sarah is even more adamant that she should get the apartment, since according to her, I cheated on her. She says she now sees me seeing Nikki while we were together as cheating, since according to the conditions of our open relationship, Nikki and I were never supposed to be serious. That Nikki should have been off limits, and that I betrayed her. She says I knew it was wrong, since I kept Nikki hidden from her. But really, I didn't think I had to since we are not together anymore, and it's none of her business. Edit, Nikki hasn't been over to the apartment yet, but my ex heard from a friend that saw us out together. Feel worse for the kid than any adult in this story. The kid is probably super confused too. You cannot give her your apartment if you are the leaseholder, not the a-hole. People forget that only the landlord has the right to decide who gets to keep an apartment or not. What I mean is, when who gets to keep the apartment or not becomes a question. This is the second post I've seen in which an ex-partner or family member demands that the other person give them the apartment. No landlord would just say, "Oh, okay, I accept that you took over the lease / want a new lease for that apartment." This whole thing is a disaster. Literally this, though Opie is clearly not the a-hole. These are the risks you run when you want an open relationship, and unfortunately Sarah is learning this the hard way. I feel for her child though, because she has clearly mixed him up in a very unfortunate situation. Am I the a-hole for not convincing my daughter to shave her head and causing her to be kicked out of her mom's house? 11 years ago, my ex-wife Sylvia and I got divorced. Our daughter Violet was 4 at the time. 5 years ago, Sylvia started seeing Alan, who has a now 7-year-old son named Nolan. Tragically, Nolan recently started chemotherapy for cancer and has lost his hair. The last time Violet was at Sylvia's house, Sylvia and Alan surprised Nolan by getting both of their heads shaved, and tried to get Violet to get her head shaved as well. Violet didn't want to, as she has long hair that she's very fond of. Apparently, Sylvia and Alan weren't expecting Violet to say no, and they got very frustrated with her. According to Violet, they tried to lecture her about supporting Nolan, but when she tried to explain that she does support him, she just doesn't want to lose her hair. They wouldn't let her talk and just sent her to her room. The next day, when Violet was with me, Sylvia texted me to let me know the situation, though she phrased it something like, "Alan and I have decided that our family will be shaving our heads to support Nolan, but Violet is being stubborn and disobedient." She then proceeded to ask me to convince Violet to shave her head, because her refusal was upsetting Nolan. But Sylvia had a history of lying to me about how other people feel. For example, she once told me that our mutual friend was upset about a joke I had made when that friend was sitting with me and was laughing at that very joke. So, I'm not sure if I believe her or not. After talking to Violet and getting her side of the story, I decided that I would not try to pressure her into buzzing off the hair that she loves so much. It would be sweet if she did it of her own volition, but Violet shaving off her hair won't make Nolan any healthier. To put it bluntly, only one kid needs to lose their hair against their will, and it's not Violet. I did tell her that I would support her if she did choose to shave her head, but I reinforced that it was her hair, so it was her choice. My heart goes out to Nolan, but Violet's mental health is more important to me than a forced show of support. We had a normal week, and Violet went back to Sylvia's house, where Sylvia and Alan again tried to pressure her to shave her head. She kept refusing until she got into a shouting match with Sylvia and Alan, which resulting in Sylvia texting me to come pick Violet up because she was no longer welcome at their house. I obliged and picked up my crying daughter from the house with only a hastily packed backpack with her. Violet has been with me for 2 weeks, and she's told me she wants to go back to Sylvia's house because she misses Nolan. I've passed this information on to Sylvia, but she's told me that Violet is only welcome back with a shaved head. Violet is keeping her hair out of spite and principle, and at this point, I feel like I'm their messenger pigeon because they won't text each other. And I might be an a-hole because if I'd just convinced Violet to shave in the first place, none of this would have happened. Not the a-hole. Major gestures like that need to be one's own choice. To force them is to victimize yet another innocent kid. You said only one kid needs to lose their hair, and it's not Violet, and you were absolutely right. Your house is where Violet needs to be, not with her toxic mom and stepdad. They may mean well, but what your ex and her husband are doing will only drive a wedge between Violet and the rest of that household. This, and Opie, you need to get your daughter into therapy ASAP. Not because of her now fractured relationship, but so she can start to understand the grief and possible guilt she may feel if God forbid Nolan were to pass from his cancer. I'm not sure how resolved the mother is, especially if Nolan also wants to see your daughter. But if something were to happen, that is a lot of emotion for your daughter to deal with at such a young age. Not to mention her brother is going through what I can only describe as a life-threatening illness that will dramatically change his appearance and possibly his personality. I have seen this happen before. Even if reconciliation does happen, I highly recommend getting your daughter into therapy so that she can deal with these complex emotions now and not have them popping up in the future. I'd also urge your daughter to text Nolan if it's possible, to explain everything to him in text. Basically, saying that she loves and misses him, but that the loss of her hair, which will likely take at least 3 years to grow back, is not something that she is comfortable with, as it forms an integral part of her identity. I'm sure Nolan really doesn't care about them shaving their heads, and is likely angry at his parents for taking away his sister in his ultimate time of need. Good luck, OP, stay strong, and I wish your daughter and Nolan all the strength in getting through this. Not the a-hole, but I'd be making sure a lawyer hears about that. Good way to get complete custody is by kicking out a child for not changing their body for you. It is, but obviously Violet cares about Nolan. She wants to be there to support Nolan. That's pretty abusive of Sylvia. I was waiting for you to say that her and Alan held her down and shaved her head against her will. That might be next. Not if she never goes back, which it's seeming more and more each day. I'm just so tired.